Hi everyone, my name is Jordan, and today we're going to be continuing our journey of art and music over 50 years, spanning from 1900 to 1940. Today we are staying in the 1910s, and we're going to be looking into Futurism. I mentioned this a little bit in last lesson, but we're going to really expand upon it now and talk about that a lot. So Futurism was really heavily formed by Cubism, which we just previously talked about. And Futurism is really unique in the way that it began in Italy, and Futurism is an emphasis on what makes modern day really seem futuristic. So for them, back in the 1910s, we have to remember this was when the airplane and the car and even things like the train were still very new and still very innovative. And so there was a lot of influence from those modern inventions that really found its way into a lot of the artwork. So Futurism was big on emphasizing or kind of bringing to the front of your mind speed, technology, youth, violence, and objects, of course, like the car, the airplane, and the industrial city. This was when the Industrial Revolution was happening in a lot of Europe and America. And the only thing you really need to know about that is this is when a lot of factories were being formed and mass production. A lot of products were being made in this time, and it was really fast tracking a lot of the modern world. So a big thing with Futurism, of course, which you can probably tell from the name, it's a big rejection, a big pushing away of the past. It's a lot of ignoring the traditional ideologies of art and what people would seem to think as more traditional and more grounded art, and instead celebrating speed, machinery, youth, and industry, looking to the future. So because of that, futurists, the people who would practice this, really did it in every medium that you could think of. So that would be painting, sculpture, ceramics, graphic design, industrial design, interior design. This would mean the design of buildings, the design of the inside of buildings. There was even urban design for entire cities. There was films, there was fashions, really anything that you can think of. The idea of Futurism found itself in there. And it makes sense. If we look at stuff around us now, there's plenty of inventions that are pushing technology forward in crazy amounts. I remember when I was a kid, we saw the first iPhone be released, and it was revolutionary. Nobody had ever seen something like that before. It was incredible. Now I'm sure for some of you, the iPhone is going to be a really common occurrence, and that just kind of shows how far we've kind of come with technology in a very, very short time. So that actually plays a really large part into our lesson plan and our project for today. So when it comes to our project, we're going to really focus on our visions of the future. Like these artists in the past, in the 1910s, which was 110 years ago, we're still thinking about the future right now. You know, what's coming? Are we going to have flying cars? Are we going to have flying dogs? What are we going to have? So using the handout, we're going to look online for different futurist paintings and artists. There will be some examples included in this video. For example, to maybe give you some ideas, we do have one for it's a sculpture called The Forms of Continuity in Space. I know it's a really long title, but that's going to be right here. And the big thing to kind of recognize about this sculpture is it's a lot of swooping lines, and it's a lot of smooth forms, but really sharp edges, kind of showing almost like air cutting through the statue, or the statue moving at a really high speed. And that's really to, of course, emphasize speed in the future, moving towards the future. Another one I'm going to show is called Abstract Speed and Sound. And this one is a lot more confusing to look at, you could say. And the big thing about this is that it includes a lot of very swooping brushstrokes and very sharp lines, again emphasizing the idea of the future. A lot of visions of the future were things that were very monolithic or very simplistic but large, something that was very sharp and to the point, things that really brought to mind technology and progress. So while this painting may be kind of hard to figure out what's going on, it's more or less the idea that they're trying to show, not necessarily something in the painting, which can be a hard thing to kind of throw around in your brain, but try to think of it as the painting being an idea, not an object. So after that, you want to kind of look at the main focus of the paintings that you find online, or the ones that we've talked about here today, and think about what the main focus is. We've kind of been over the fact that they use harsh lines, sharp edges, a lot of noisy colors that don't really go well together, and a lot of contrast, so lights versus darks, reds versus blues. And you're going to try and figure out what makes it really interesting to look at, what makes you think of the future when you're looking at this painting. So step 3, using the handout, we're going to write down what we think the future will have. Again, so that could be flying cars, flying dogs, hoverboards, actual hoverboards, whatever you can think of. So after writing your answers, given the lines provided, I want you to draw just a little scene showing off what you think the future is going to be. That includes just 2 or more of your inventions or ideas of what the future is like. If that means tall skyscrapers and shiny chrome roads or metal roads, then it could include that, or it could be something a lot different. Maybe we decide to use a new unheard of technology in the future, and you want to show that off. Whatever you want to do, as long as you can draw that scenario with 2 or more inventions or ideas that you've come up with. This is just kind of trying to bring to mind the ideas of looking towards the future and looking towards possibilities ahead of us when creating art, which is exactly what they were doing back in the 1910s. So for the group tour section, you want to be showing off your artwork to your friends and family. And what do they think the future is going to be like? Do they think that it's going to include some of the stuff that you drew? Do they think that maybe it's going to be even farther than what you expected? Do they think that it's not just going to be hovering boards, they're going to be flying in space? What do they think? To kind of extend this lesson, futurist artists were really obsessed with the inventions of their time. Again, like the train, the car, especially the airplane. That was a huge, huge thing. So do your own research, right? So just a quick Google search. I'm not asking you to be any sort of, college scholar or anything like that. But just do your own research and try to find some really new and exciting technology arriving shortly. I'm sure a lot of you spend a lot of time on the internet, and I'm sure you can find some really, really interesting stuff that's right around the corner. And show that off to people that might not know about it. See if they can get excited too. And then, of course, to access the instructional video, that'll be linked. And for further resources and visual aids, we're going to have a link to the definition of futurism, along with some more in-depth explanations of that. Of course, the handout will be linked to this lesson plan. And to submit your art, of course, just be sure to send that to ArtSphere Interactive. There will be the hashtags at the bottom if you want to submit that through social media, and there will be contact information via email at the bottom of the handout as well. It's been good talking to you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.